again for the Maglite podcast, and this is kind of a fun one, I gotta say. I played video games for a long time, into my 40s. I don't as much anymore. I will occasionally play with my son. They got too complicated for me. It's honestly, I first-person shooters was about all I could keep up with, and everything else is just too much. So I still occasionally play Risk on my phone, but that's about the extent of my gaming nowadays. But I am very interested in strategy games and games that are historical in their representation of events, and I'm especially fond of World War II games because, well, my father served in World War II in the Pacific. So this, of course, is something that I've grown up around, been familiar with, and I always liked historical games like this. And so it's really fun to enter into this conversation with David Milne, who is a senior mission designer for the game Company of Heroes 3. This is a game by a designer called Relic, and it's available for Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. David, welcome to the Maglite podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So, explain your job. It sounds very cool.
It is pretty cool. I enjoy it quite a lot. So, as a mission designer, what I'm responsible for is creating some of the single player mission content that the player is going to play. Think in the same vein as like a level designer, creating the physical space that the player will play in, scripting encounters with the enemies, setting up the objectives and some of the narrative, all of those things. One of the aspects of this game, though, because it's historically based, is that a big part of, my job and some of the other designers' jobs was historical research, right? We're looking up the history as much as we can, reading books, looking for photographs, imagery, that sort of a thing.
This is the history of what portion of World War II?
So specifically we're focused on the Mediterranean theater and the North African theater. So the North African campaign focuses on Rommel's drive from Ajdabia all the way to El Alamein. And then the Allied campaign focuses on the invasion of Sicily up to the drive to Rome, basically.
So there's two books that cover that period that I've read. One is called An Army at Dawn by historian Lee Atkinson, and the other one that covers the Italy campaign, which is one that is not really well remembered by a lot of people. The Italian campaign is sort of touched on in the movie Patton, but it never really gets its due. But I believe the book was called The Guns That Last Light by Lee Atkinson, which focused on the campaign for Italy, which, by the way, was incredibly bloody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
House to house, mountainous terrain. I remember there was a siege of a particular abbey or monastery.
Monte Cassino.
Monte Cassino, which was an incredibly lengthy and bloody battle with the Germans holed up in Monte Cassino. And then unfortunately, a lot of non-combatants were killed because they had taken refuge in the abbey, and of course it had to be overrun by the Allies, and they bombed the absolute bejesus out of it from the sky. But everything eventually has to be taken on the ground. So these are the historical incidents that you are writing and forming this game about.
Absolutely. So we focus on a lot of those historical moments. There is a Battle of Monte Cassino that you fight and you play in this game, as well as taking part in the invasion at Anzio, which where the Allied forces there ended up being surrounded and almost kind of besieged in their own right, and then taking over Ortona, and you and go through
the beachhead in Italy. That landing was incredibly fraught.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and
Operation Husky, I think it was called.
Yeah, I think Yeah, I think so.
Okay, right.
And then yeah, and that was actually one of the missions that I had worked on. And so, a big part of that is, like I said, looking at aerial photography so that we're kind of recreating the topography of the area, and finding accounts. And, honestly, a part of my job for a while was watching documentaries, which is,
Right.
a great way to spend some time, just trying to learn as
Man,
much as
I
I
want
could.
your job. I get to sit down and watch documentaries and movies about World War II all day. That'd be great.
Absolutely. And and taking all of that and kind of boiling it down into, okay, what are the 3 or 4 objectives that the player is going to complete in this game, and how do we represent that? And when it comes to Anzio, the first thing you do in that game is in that mission, you start the mission and you're already under attack. Your units are on the beach, your Germans are attacking you, you're being hit by artillery, and you just have to hold. You just have to defend the beach. You have to defend the landing. That's what you're doing in that. And then as you build up, you have the opportunity to build up your forces, build up a base, and then break out of that. And that's what you're doing. But yeah, we are representing a lot of these things.
Do you think these games are helpful in getting people to remember World War II and the details of it?
I think so. I mean, that's certainly our hope with these things, is to draw attention to it, and show off some of this history, and help generate interest in it. I would love nothing more than to hear about people playing our game and getting interested in it, and then starting to look into it themselves, finding going in and researching the wider history and watching some documentaries themselves. That I think is a great part of this game.
So I've got 3 pictures in front of me that are above my computer. One is the 3 firefighters raising the flag at Ground Zero. One is the first shot of the first soldiers leaving the first Higgins boat on D-Day, and the others of the flag raising at Iwo Jima.
Right.
And then behind me on that wall over there, that's a battle map of the invasion of Normandy. And
I see. Yeah.
So I'm a little bit interested in these subject matters, and Maglite has always been extremely supportive of our veterans, our police, our first responders. It's one of our core missions. And so accompanying with you guys with Company of Heroes, which depicts a very important time in history, obviously reminds people of the heroic sacrifices our veterans made in World War II, which unfortunately we are losing all of our World War II veterans. There are very few left. And so it's something that I think is a good mission. I think it's great to remind people of these things, and also it's fun. It's really fun to replay these historical incidents. I always found it gave a game more context and more fun when you were recreating something real.
Absolutely.
What's your personal history of Maglite?
It's funny. I had to think about it for a second, but I remember, there's just always a Maglite in the house. It was in the closet by the front door, and anytime I needed to go in the garage or down to the basement, or we'd bring it camping with us too. It was just a standby.
Well, that's what we like to hear. A Maglite in every home, or 10. Just say. All right. Thank you so much, David. By the way, we are going to be giving away copies of the game plus bundles of Maglite product. You can find information about that sweepstakes by going to maglite.com. Maglite.com is where you can find all that, and you can win copies of the game and win some great Maglite product as well. David, I appreciate you. I know several people, including my son, who would love to have your job. So just watch out. There are young ones coming up who want those positions as well. But it's incredibly competitive. So congratulations for being where you are. There's a lot of people who love to be game designers. And like I said, it's like being an actor in Hollywood. There's like thousands and thousands and thousands of people that want to do it, and there's like a handful who get to.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Appreciate you having me on the show.
All right, Company of Heroes 3. Relic is the company, Xbox, PS, and PC. I'm Lou Desmond for Maglite. This is the Maglite Podcast. Thanks for being here. Until next time.